It's good to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Millsy. Back from Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew version 1.0 deck list of the Commander in front of us on my quest out brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing, and that's what we're back to do today. The deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. So I'd really appreciate if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider doing all that YouTube stuff. I'd appreciate it. But today, we're continuing on week 2 of Final Fantasy content. Today we're talking about one of the two commanders from the starter kit. Today we're talking about Cloud Planet's Champion. A 5-mana Boros human soldier mercenary, 4/4. It says during your turn, as long as Cloud's equipped, he has double strike and indestructible. Two really nice abilities we get to take advantage of. And anything we go to equip Cloud with costs 2 less to activate. This, I think, is a really fun idea for a Voltron commander. It allows us to get double strike and indestructible really cheaply with some really cheap equipment. And double strike's a huge ability when it comes to combat, because dealing damage twice can lead to a lot more ability for us to take out our opponents the way we probably going to want to with Voltron, commander damage. So I think Cloud's a really interesting commander for it. He's in the right exact colors for this. Boros has a lot of equipment options. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to say a quick thank you to the channel members. Thank you so much for watching the channel and supporting. If you're interested in seeing all of our videos just a little bit early, check it out down the video below. Okay, well, what are we looking at as far as equipment goes? We want a good mix here. Like, we don't want just cheap equipment that we can put on Cloud, because as much as it's great to get double strike and indestructible, it's not going to go super far. We really want to make Cloud as hard to deal with as we can. Well, there's a lot of ways we could do that. I'm really loving the look of the new A tier and pre-win. This equipment that makes your creature an X, where X is your life total. I mean, you pair this with lifelink, trample, and there's a whole lot of ways you can make Cloud really scary. One of those is something like Basilisk Collar, giving him Death Touch and lifelink. Lifelink's huge. It's going to help us with gaining life back, keeping our life total nice and up. So that way, as we're attacking, we're not just getting cracked back for a ton of damage. Blackblade is a equipment you're going to see in a lot of these equipment decks. Quick creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and it will go on to Cloud for just 3. Remember that Basilisk is going to be free with Cloud's ability. Blackblade's just going to be 1. That pre-win is going to be 3. So you can already start to see where Cloud's second ability is going to come in a lot of handy when it comes to getting this equipment on him. Brotherhood Regalia is going to be free. Has Ward 2 and is an assassin and can't be blocked. Can't be blocked is massive, especially in a deck where we're trying to hit people in combat. That means it should be hopefully open season for us as we try to get Cloud to that right power and toughness to knock our opponents out. Buster Sword is a card that you're going to see everywhere in these new equipment decks after this set. I like that the flavor is there that it gets to equip to Cloud for free, and then whenever it deals whenever Cloud with us on it would deal combat damage to a player, we draw a card and then cast a spell from our hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. And again, with double strike, we would actually get to do that twice if he can get through for damage. Caduceus is going to give him lifelink, and if we have 30 or more life, he gets +5/+5 indestructible and prevent all damage we dealt to him. The indestructible here is huge, because remember, Cloud only gets indestructible on our turn if he's equipped. On our opponent's turns, he's not going to have indestructible. So this is why things like Ward 2 and indestructible are going to be really important on some of these equipment. Help us keep Cloud alive and safe on our opponent's turns. Champion's Helm, giving it hexproof, again, gets to equip for free. Conqueror's Flail, giving him +1/+1 for each color among permanents we control. And our opponents can't cast spells during our turn if it's on there, equipping for 2. Dancer's Chakrams might look odd, but I think this one's really interesting. So it comes in with a hero token that's attached to it, and we don't even want to put it on Cloud if we don't have to, because this equipment actually gives the hero and Cloud +2/+2 in lifelink. And again, lifelink's huge, especially when we can gain life back and keep ourselves safe. Dragonfire Blade, +2/+2 and hexproof from monocolored. Some of the most prevalent removal in our format is single color, specifically things like Path to Exile and Swords, right? So we like the idea of Dragonfire Blade because it's going to help protect us from that. Genji Glove gives him on double strike, but actually gives us an additional combat, which is why it's so important, giving Cloud opportunities to attack multiple times. Helm of the Host might look odd, but I just like the idea of going wide with Clouds, making sure they're all threats with double strike and indestructible. And Helm of the Host just isn't a bad way to Once you make that second copy of Cloud, I think each single piece of single target removal becomes a little bit less effective. Yes, it eliminates all your token copies of Cloud not being able to win with commander damage, but they're still going to be lethal threats that our opponents have to deal with. Lava Spur Boots and Lightning Greaves are both examples of cheap equipment. They're going to come down, give him a little bit of protection, Shroud for the Greaves, Ward 1 for the Boots, but again, just going to get that double strike and indestructible on him right away, and haste, which is pretty cool. Leyline Axe is going to give him double strike and trample, and again, trample's huge, because then, remember, with double strike and trample, let's say our opponent doesn't block, or let's say our opponent blocks with a 1-1, let's say Cloud's a 5-5 with double strike and trample. Well, on first strike, you're going to hit for 4, and then on regular damage, you're going to hit for 5. That's the interaction with double strike and trample. So trample's huge for Cloud if we can get it, making sure more of our damage gets through. And that's what something like Shadow Spear is going to do. A one-man equipment that's going to equip to him for free. Just trample and lifelink, just making sure he really gets in hard for good damage. Thran Power Suit giving him Ward 2 and +1/+1 for each other aura or each aura or equipment attached to it, and equipping for free. And then the Trailblazer's Boots giving him non-basic Landwalk. You're going to be pretty hard-pressed to find a commander deck that isn't playing non-basic lands these days. They're so useful, especially in 2- and 3-color decks. So the Trailblazer Boots are going to be a nice way to hopefully get Cloud to be unblockable like that Regalia and get us in for big damage. We have other creatures in the deck, and we have creatures that can support Cloud. Things like Akiri will let us pay a white mana to unattach an equipment from a creature we control and give it indestructible. Again, huge for our opponent's turns to help protect it a little bit, specifically for destruction removal. Arden lets us automatically attach an equipment to a permanent or player at the... it'll attach any number of equipment to a permanent or player, so we can just load Cloud up with all of our equipment and get him ready to go. Astor comes in and lets us look at the top 7, get an equipment from them, put it into our hand, and it just gives all of our equipment equip 1, meaning they're going to get onto Cloud for free, which is pretty darn nice. Brutal Bannerhammer is going to buff every creature we control for each equipment attached to it, and lets us pay 0 for our first equip each turn. Codsworth is going to help out by giving Cloud Ward 2, and then can either tap for some mana to play equipment, or tap to just attach equipment to Cloud. Furion from the new set's kind of fun, giving all of our equipped creatures haste, and then whenever a non-token equipment comes in, we get to make a copy of it that has its equip abilities cost 2 less. This is going to be really nice for a lot of our equipment, because then we should be able to hopefully attach that copy that turn for free to Cloud with that already reduction of 2 and then 2 from Cloud's ability. The only reminder of Furion, if you're going to use it in your deck, is if you go to make a copy of a legendary equipment, you're not going to be able to keep the copy, around if you don't, depending on your choice. But the point is you can't have both because they're legendary. So for everything else, Furion is just going to be really good. Kellen lets us go get an equipment of our choice on the adventure side, and the regular side buffs all of our other creatures for each equipment attached to Kellen. Kellen's a nice backup for Cloud in case Cloud, gets removed off the battlefield. Kellen can step in with double strike and still be a nice attacker for us. Pierce to a Paladin draws us a card whenever an equipment comes in, and then can make them all equip 0 once we have enough of them out. There is the commander deck version of Sephiroth that's going to work really well in our deck. Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you put a cell counter on a creature we control, and then each modified creature becomes a 7/5. Note that having equipment attached to a creature is going to be a modification, so hopefully Cloud will already be that, but Sephiroth is going to help by making other creatures that big. And then you can actually sacrifice a modified creature to bring Sephiroth back. So we have another creature, we can get an equipment attached to it really quick, sacrifice it, and bring Sephiroth back for all that big value. Fighter's Class, when it comes in, gives you an equipment of your choice. You can level it up to level 2 to make them a little bit cheaper, and level 3 forces some blocks. To hopefully help your opponents get rid of their key creatures. Forge Anew lets us equip at instant speed, which is a very interesting ability, and it may be fun to get us in scenarios where we can equip at instant speed really cheaply to Cloud and get him all the things we need to get him. And then Sigarda's Aid, whenever an equipment comes in, we can just attach it to a creature we control. We don't have to pay the equip. And that's huge because a lot of the times that's going to allow us to get around, even with Cloud's reduction, some of our more expensive equipment being expensive. Sigarda's Aid also gives them flash, so being able to play them instant speed is pretty darn cool as well. I think the last thing we can talk about with Cloud that I think is going to be important is getting some big damage from Cloud. There's a lot of ways you can look at this. I mean, Carlock and abilities like it will give you extra combats. Very useful, right? Attack more. I like the idea of something like Ketis. Whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Note that the damage from Ketis here won't be commander damage. So we can knock one player with the commander damage, but Ketis won't allow us to knock out all three. But that damage can still be really huge. And then you have something like Jessica that for 0 can have Cloud deal triple that damage to the player instead. This is huge when you start giving Cloud, trample and even things like lifelink. Just really helping yourself and keeping yourself alive, also just dealing massive damage. So we have to do some things in the deck that are going to help out with that. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at Cloud, and I think going into testing, there's kind of two things I'm really looking for. Do we want more things like Whisper Cloak, Whisper Silk Cloak, things that can give it unblockable, make sure Cloud can get in for free and really deal damage? And the second, I looked at Chandra's Ignition and that new red sorcery from Final Fantasy that does something very similar, where target creature deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. The new red spell only has it do it to each other creature. Both of them are going to be in the considering board of the deck list down below when you look at it, but very interesting effect. Could allow Cloud to just be a good wipe to the board and deal some big damage to each opponent. What I think is really fun about the Ignition is it's each opponent. We don't have to worry about getting hit with it. It's not to each player. So I think the bigger Cloud is, right, the better Chandra's Ignition is. I think that'd be one of those cards I'd be looking to probably bring back in right away. I just couldn't find a slot for it, and I kind of want to see what the deck does without it to see if it's something that's more necessary to bring back in. But let's do what we love to do on the channel the most and get into our playtests. Remember, the goal of playtests on our channel is not to find magical Christmas land. It's not to show off all our best plays, but it's to get in some gameplay scenarios and kind of understand how we're going to put our game plan together. The stand's not looking too bad. It's a 3-lander, 5 for Cloud, so we're going to have to work up to get a little bit. We got Furion, we got Caduceus, we got Fighter Class, which can go get an equipment of our choice, and that Dragonfire Blade. I like this. I think it's a good starting hand. We've got all that's not there is the mana, but we do have a creature and things to equip to it. So worst case scenario, Furion could be an option for us if we need it. We'll get the Dragonfire Blade down. Turn 2, I think we'll just go crack the Fighter Class. I'm trying to decide what makes the most sense to go get. I really like something like Shadow Spear, giving trample and indestructible, or trample and lifelink, just because it's two such powerful abilities on Cloud with Double Strike, meaning you're just going to get so much back. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to have varying opinions, but we'll just go get the Shadow Spear. Turn 3, we see Freya Crescent. Can tap for a red to only cast an equipment or activate an equip ability. Kind of a really interesting thing, right? Could help us out for sure. Furion's 3, I don't really have any way to get anything attached to him this turn, but I could potentially next turn. So I think that makes sense to me. We could have also spent our turn going like Freya plus Shadow Spear, but Freya's red mana isn't going to get us Cloud down next turn, so I don't think we even need to do that. Turn 4, we have the 5th mana for Cloud next turn, which is great. I guess in hindsight, I could have also gotten something like the Greaves, like Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots, because they would have attached to Cloud for free. But hey, hindsight's 2020. If I play Sword of Vengeance, I can get it on Furion this turn. The copy I can get on Furion this turn. If I do this, the copy of Shadow Spear goes away. The Dragonfire Blade is going to be too expensive to get on. So if I do this, I get the copy of the Sword of Vengeance, which gets to go on to Furion for cheap. He'd be a 5/3 with First Strike and Trample, getting in, for pretty good. Same thing, we get the Caduceus down. I could spend the mana to put the Fighter Class up to make everything cheaper to equip, which doesn't seem like a bad idea either. No, we don't have a ton of equipment down, but I think that could make some sense, because now my thought is play 5 for Cloud, pay 1 for the Shadow Spear with Freya. We'll get the copy. We just get rid of the copy. Now Fighter Class is going to make Shadow Spear free to put on there. Now Furion gives it a haste, right, because it's equipped. Dragonfire Blade is cost 1 less to activate for each color of the creature it targets, which would be 2. but it's getting reduced by 2 from both fighter class and Cloud. So now Dragon Fire Blade can get down there for free. So now we've got a 7/7 Cloud, double strike, indestructible, trample, lifelink. So now we're netting 14 life, dealing 14 damage, unless somebody can give us a good block, and we're in just absolutely great shape this turn to just either take somebody down or just get a bunch of big damage and get the lifelink back. And if somebody removes Cloud, it's okay. We've still got some pieces out. Fighter class would help us get them on Furion or get them on somebody else. But now as we come into this turn, remember we have Freya to help us cast things. My thought would be Caduceus for the indestructible, right? Because Shadow Spear doesn't give it. I go 3 there. I need the double white for Caduceus, right? I have no way around it. I'm just trying to think. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. I don't think I can get both of them down. Get them equipped the way I want. I play the sword. I get a copy of it. I could put 1 on Furion, 1 on Cloud. It doesn't net me anything more than just the buff, but now we go from 7 to 9, which makes us a little bit more able to potentially knock an opponent out. Caduceus would put us from 7 to 12, which would make us in the range to knock somebody out with double strike in case they don't. I think this makes the most sense. Put the 3 in here. Put in the 2 to equip. It kind of stinks to not have enough mana to play another equipment, but that's fine. We could always move, one of these over if we want to. But now Cloud is in perfect Voltron range. It has lifelink, right? So we're gaining 24 back. We're risking commander damage now on somebody, and even after netting 20 life, now this Caduceus could be perfect to go on something like if they do find a way to exile Cloud around all of this. We can just put this on Furion, and now Furion's a huge threat, with our life total. So I like this one. We kind of got there. We set up some good stuff. Let's get into playtest number 2. Keeping a 3-lander with Arcane Signet, so we're great. Just 1 mana off a Cloud. We've got Maul, a equipment that will auto-attach when it comes in. We've got the Shadow Spear, and we got Open the Armory. So now we can go get an equipment of our choice and put it to our hand. I like this setup. We're just like 1 mana off of Cloud, and I think this time we would go for something like Swiftfoot Boots, right, to give Cloud hexproof, right, make it a little bit less able to be targeted, right, and maybe that'll keep it alive. Here we see the mono white Cloud. So mono white Cloud, when it comes in, we get to go get equipment of our choice, and as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability goes off additional time. A very interesting ability, and I think could be really helpful to us here. We'll play the Fury Calm, showing that mountain so that we don't have to have it come in tapped. I really want to get Cloud down, and I really want to give it haste, which is why I really want to either open the armory or Cloud to go get it. So might as well do something like this Cloud. And my thought is Swiftfoot. It's going to attach to Cloud for free, and it's going to give him hexproof. Do that, I only have 2 more mana, right? So if I do this Swiftfoot, that's all I can do next turn. But that's my thought. We can actually equip it to this Cloud and attack this turn if we want to. That would be up to us. But now my thought is Cloud, get the Swiftfoot on him. So now he has at least hexproof. Now he's protected from most of our removal that's going to go against him. It's going to set up, the Maul plus the Shadow Spear next turn. As we come to this turn, Maul would get him to 6. Shadow Spear would get him to 7. That's just 4 mana. So we got 2 mana left. We could get down the Dragonfire Blade. And actually, we would be able to get onto him for free. So that would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're looking at 18, right? With double strike, trample, I think. So now we're, again, just in good shape. Cloud just here's another option in case you need to, get somebody souped up. And I think we're in great shape. If somebody, again, does find a way to remove Cloud around all of this, you just start putting it all on this Cloud until you can replay Cloud. And I just think we're in good shape. Yes, it's all relying on our opponents not having the removal, but that's where I think something like that Swiftfoot is going to be so useful, so that we can protect ourselves just that little bit from that single target removal and have to force them to use things like mass removal to get rid of Cloud, and hopefully that can get us around long enough. Here we're keeping a 3-lander with Freya, so Freya's going to help us get out some of our equipment. We got All That Glitters, giving the enchanted creature +1/+1 for each artifact or equipment control. Again, great for Cloud, considering all the equipment we have. And then Jessica. So we're really truly a couple mana off of Cloud, but we've at least got a creature we could start equipping if we want to. It has flying during our turn, so it couldn't be a bad target for some of our things, but we'll kind of see what we can get ourselves into. So we can get Freya down on turn 1. So we see 2 lands, so now we have 5 lands. It's just getting everything down. Freya, it doesn't really make much sense to do much with Freya this turn. We can just attack. I mean, we just want to keep ourselves going. Hinge comes in, tap, lose control of plane. So my thought is Helm of the Host here. Feels awkward to skip that turn a little bit, but I think it makes sense. Now we would have enough mana to help equip, right? The Helm of the Host, we just don't have enough for Cloud just yet. It's guaranteed to come down next turn. The problem is that Helm is an equip 5. It would be an equip 3. We wouldn't have enough to next turn. We could get something like All That Glitters on Freya if we want to. It would make it a 1. It'd make it a 3/3 if we want to. We get Jessica down. I can just... Jessica, unfortunately, won't come in with any counters on it because we have to cast our commander for it. So we're kind of in these awkward positions where it's not ideal. I mean, we could crack the canyon and draw a card, but I don't know that I really like that. I mean, All That Glitters is, I guess, the minimum play. We could also just attach Helm of the Host to Freya, and at the start or combat, we would get another copy of Freya. Note that we don't have to attack with Freya to get the copy. That's kind of interesting. It could help us in the future when it comes to equipping. So Cloud's still going to be 3 to equip with the Helm, right? So we could go to combat, make another Freya, and then main 2, we could get it attached with the 3 Freyas, right? So now at least Cloud would have a double strike and indestructible on our turn, but it's going to be a sitting duck until our next turn. But the nice part now on our next turn is Kedis plus Jessica seems fun. The only problem with that route is going to be I have no way to guarantee he gets through, right? Because it doesn't have trample, it doesn't have anything special. But Kedis plus Jessica does seem fun. Jessica comes in with 1 counter, right? Because we've cast Cloud once. I guess we just, choose Cloud, give him the ability to deal triple the damage. Make a copy of Cloud with Helm of the Host. It can attack 2. And again, I don't expect Cloud to hit through, even though it has double strike and indestructible. But if it does, great. We deal 8 to everybody else or we would deal 12 and then 24 to everybody. But I doubt on turn 6 you're going to find a way to get Cloud in for free. But at least we have an option to swing Cloud and this Cloud, and you would have these guys in the air if you want to. Again, hopefully we keep the protection there. Worst case scenario, we have the Freyas to help get a Helm on something else. Skyclaves could help a ton. Getting Cloud in the air, potentially giving him that needed. That plus All That Glitters would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 9/9 with double strikes. We're getting darn close. 0 Jessica again, and if somebody doesn't have a flying blocker, you're now dealing 18 to them, and dealing 18 to everybody else with Kedis, and then you can have all of our other creatures attack, right? Try to get some damage in. And I think we're not in a terrible spot here. It doesn't feel as good as the last one. If somebody removes this Cloud, we still got to replay Cloud. But remember, the tokens are still going to get double strike and indestructible if they're equipped on our turn. I mean, they can still be threats, right? All we would lose is the glitters. Kedis wouldn't deal any damage because neither of these are our commander. But I think it's still an interesting route to get there. We just kind of had some oddities along the way. But I'd love to know what you think of Cloud. Is this the Cloud you're going to try out, or are you more interested in the Naya one that we talked about last week? I'd love to know, and I will catch you on the next one.